Welcome to The People's View, a program dedicated to discussing local, state, and national issues and their effect on the American people. The People's View provides a platform for state representatives and national figures to present their viewpoint. Whether it's social, economic, or financial topics, you'll hear it on The People's View.
How you doing, folks? My name's Kevin Smith. I'm a Republican candidate for governor. Just want to welcome everyone to the Nashua City Committee's GOP dinner this evening with Howie Carr. It's going to be a great evening. We've got a lot of great activists and GOP folks here, and I can't wait to speak to everyone, too, about my plan and my vision for the state of New Hampshire on how we're going to get good jobs and good economic development, especially to the Nashua area. And it's going to be a great year for Republicans, both in Washington and in Concord. So I hope you enjoy the evening, and please have a wonderful time in viewing tonight's dinner.
I'd like to take an opportunity to thank some of our honored guests tonight. Of course, our keynote speaker, Howie Carr, Congressman Charlie Bass, Senator Jim Luther, Alderman-at-Large David Dean, former Nashua Mayor Bernie Streeter, and the Deputy Speaker of the New Hampshire House, Pam Tucker. We have two representatives from the state GOP tonight, Vice Chairman Cliff Hurst, and our Area 3 Vice Chairman Mark Vincent. I'd like to thank all of our New Hampshire state representatives for coming tonight. I'd ask you to please stand rather than list you all. Senator Kelly Ayotte unfortunately wasn't able to make it tonight, so she sent her regrets and has asked Jennifer Horn to please read a letter on her behalf.
Thank you very much. It's great to be here tonight with a room full of Republicans and conservatives. I just want to let you know very quickly, I didn't get here early enough tonight to pass everything out on your chairs. So these will be at the door. A handsome young man named Matt Maroney will be holding these as you leave tonight. I hope you'll all grab one. It's an invitation to join us at our home next Tuesday evening. Dear Nashua Republican City Committee, I join you in spirit today to kick off the 2012 campaign season. I greatly appreciate all that you have done and continue to do to advance our party's important goals. As a direct result of your dedication and tireless efforts, Republicans are well positioned to build on the success we earned in 2010. I look forward to working with all of you as we roll up our sleeves, knock on the doors, make the phone calls, and talk to our friends and neighbors in the coming effort to retain our majorities in the State House, recapture the governor's seat, and send Governor Romney to the White House. I trust everyone will have a great evening, and I want to thank each and every one of you for everything you do on behalf of the Republican Party. Best wishes, Kelly Ayotte, United States Senator. And may I say, one of the hardest working moms in New Hampshire.
I've been reminded that there was one person that unfortunately I missed in the welcome, and that is our Executive Counselor, David Wheeler. Okay, we'll take a brief pause. Well, actually, no, there's one change to the schedule. Congressman Bass will speak to us before we get to serving dinner. So, Congressman.
appreciate your letting me speak for a minute before you have dinner. As Tip O'Neill said years ago, tell the truth the first time, and then you don't have to remember what you said. I have dinner tonight with my wife and son and daughter back in Peterborough, and I just didn't want to stand them up. So there's the truth. I'm here tonight because I support this city committee, and we got to be a good, strong, successful team over the next 6 months. I'm so thrilled to see that we have a famous radio personality like Howie Carr here tonight. He's probably made, I don't know how many $100 so far selling those books over there. I'm looking forward to my biennial appearance on his show in about 6 months and a few days. You know, the Democrats are going to throw everything they have at me in this election. They did it in 2010. They're going to do it this year. They're going to say I voted to end Medicare, Social Security, Medicaid, everything good and wonderful for every American. They're going to accuse me of breaking every law in America and New Hampshire. By the time they finish with me, if a guy like Howie Carr believed any of the stuff they said, he'd be writing a book about me. And perhaps my brother, who's my campaign chair. The Democrats are going to make this an election about little issues. They're going to talk about the fact that we need to tax the rich. They're going to talk about the fact that the Buffett rule needs to be corrected. President Obama will bring up a new issue every week. The issue of the last couple of weeks was student loans. By the way, it was the Democrats who passed the bill that causes the student loan interest rate to go up, not the Republicans. And the Democrats and the Republicans agreed on the reduction, but we disagreed on how we could pay for it. Well, first of all, I'm thrilled that we're even discussing how to pay for federal spending. That wouldn't have occurred 2 years ago. But we want to take the money from a fund that is advance appropriated in perpetuity by the Obama health care law to the tune of $2 billion a year. And so far, the Health and Human Services Secretary has been spending some of these funds on studying hot tub rashes, on free spaying and neutering for dogs and cats, and for a whole host of other critical health prevention programs. And we think that it might be a good idea to let the Congress at least debate those rather than the Health and Human Services Secretary. My friends, the Democrats will make this election about little issues. We make this election about big issues. Let's not forget that unemployment has been over 8% for 38 consecutive months, the longest recession since the Great Depression. The $1.2 trillion stimulus passed in 2009. Unemployment has averaged during that period, since then, 9.3%. Gasoline was $1.89 a gallon when Barack Obama took office. It's what, $3.83 to $3.86 right now. The economy has suffered a net decrease in employment of 780,000 people since the stimulus bill passed. The president's health care law took $500 billion out of the potential revenues of Medicare in order to pay for the new health care law, hastening Medicare's pending bankruptcy. Household income in this country has fallen by $3,378 since Barack Obama took office. That's the level that it was in 1996. And lastly, this president has led a nation that's increased its debt by $5 trillion since he took office. That is the same number that the entire national debt was when I took office in 1995. Yes, the Democrats are going to make it about little issues, but each and every one of us in this room tonight has to talk about big issues. As they say in a marriage, don't sweat the details. We don't sweat the details. We keep our eye on Election Day, and we talk about big issues because people are worried about the security of their jobs, the security of this nation, and the ability of our country to survive this fiscal cliff that we've gotten ourselves to, that we will approach at the end of the year. We need good, strong, conservative leadership in this country, and we as Republicans are going to be the ones that make that happen here in America, here in New Hampshire and across America. So I need your help, but we're a team, and together We will take the governorship, we will hold the Senate and the House, and we will hold these seats in Congress. Thank you so much for your support, and have a wonderful evening.
Before we take a brief pause in the program to allow the servers to bring dinner out, I do want to recognize one person in particular who has done more for grassroots in the state than almost anyone I can think of at this point. And that's our outgoing National Committee woman, Phyllis Woods. Really appreciate everything you've done for us over the years, and we hope that we'll see you around for many more. Okay, so at this time, enjoy your food for a while, and we'll be back in a short while with our speakers. We had invited Ovid LaMontagne, candidate for governor, to speak to us tonight. He's unfortunately unable to attend, but he has asked Senator Luther to speak on his behalf. So, Senator Luther.
Well, you know, it's nice to be a Republican because we have options. Unlike, let me see, Maggie Hassan, that silly person. But you know what? And I'll tell you right up front. Kevin Smith is a friend of mine, and it's always hard to, look at these issues. So I just want to state that up front. I have a lot of respect for Kevin. I was on the board of Cornerstone, and he did great work there. So, But I've got to know Ovid, and I just want to give you a couple of brief insights that I've seen with this guy. First, I remember when I first heard this guy many years ago. It took me a while to figure out how to spell his name, but once I got to meet this guy, I mean, Ovid is the real deal. What you see is what you get. And I remember the first time I met him at an event, and the next time I met him, he knew my name. Some of these politicians, they just brush over you, and he looks you in the eye, and I'm sure every one of us have had an experience where we know somebody who just passes right over it. They look right through you, They're on to the next person. Not Ovid. This guy is the real deal. He has been involved in the state for many years, and probably a couple of areas that he has been very focused on. One has been obviously the educational funding area. We have got to get that dealt with. He's been working very closely with the legislature on that. And we have got to get this out of the courts. That's not where this should be, that we can deal with this. He was also the chairman of the board of St. Mary's Bank, and which now has offices all over the state, and they've done a great job. And I've gotten to know the banking community, and they are critical to what is happening in this state. And he has really been very involved in that, and obviously through Divine Millnet, very involved in a lot of businesses in this state. I was actually at a little gathering today in Hollis. A bunch of business owners got together, and that's where the jobs are created. Did you know New Hampshire, we are the highest concentration of jobs coming out of small businesses of any state in the U.S. And it's so critical that we have somebody who is going to go into the governor's office and really understand those issues, and I believe Ovid is that man. Two things, and I want to share a brief story with you. He really believes we have got to have zero-based budgeting. Can you imagine if we had zero-based budgeting in Washington? I wouldn't have to worry about our kids' future, And we need to have a Republican in the corner office. I'm sitting here with Pam Tucker, and we've gotten a lot of stuff through the House and the Senate, but those bills that the governor doesn't like, we got to get the 2/3 veto-proof majority. So stuff like right to work is going to get through next year when we have a Republican in the governor's office. Absolutely. That is one of Ovid's top issues. Now let me tell you one thing about him that I've noticed that I think is so important. You look at character in this nation, and what is so disturbing to me is to see that we are separating character from capability in government offices. Just go to the GSA, right? You know, I mean, they have this guy. They haven't fired this guy. They haven't done anything to him. That spent almost $900,000, and then of course we have the Secret Service. Character is pretty darn important. Now I will tell you, there was a study done a few years ago that looked at how people deal with loss, and it was very, very critical. And if you look at the way Ovid dealt with the Senate loss, that spoke volumes to me. Here's a guy who dealt with it with class. Do you know how many people asked him for a recount? They said, you must get a recount on this. You're within the margins, you ought to do it. And he said, I'm not doing it. It is not good for the party. I think dealing with loss says so much more about character than dealing for a win. And he spoke volumes to me about his fiber, his character, and what he can do in the governor's office. So I would encourage you, if you aren't already decided where you're going to go, to come on with Owen's team. And JP, right over here, Marzullo, is one of his top people. Talk to him if you want to join the team. And yeah, love to have you on board. So go Ovid. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'd like to welcome to the stage our next gubernatorial candidate, Kevin Smith.
Good evening, Nashua. Always great to be back in Nashua and see so many friends here. This has been kind of a whirlwind of the last 24 hours for me. I started out speaking in Keene last night at the Cheshire County GOP meeting. Then this morning I was in Rochester talking to the good folks in Stratford County. And then I was up at Dartmouth College this afternoon giving a talk up there, and now I'm back down here in Nashua. And all I can say is thank God you guys practically border Litchfield, because I have a pretty short commute home after this dinner this evening. Howie Carr, it is great to have you here. Great to see you, Captain. I was telling Howie earlier that my first internship in school, believe it or not, was at WRKO in Boston. And I, because of that, got to listen to Howie pretty frequently, and also maybe even called in a couple of times. Always under a pseudonym, of course. Mark from Dorchester. And I can say it with that accent because I was born in Winchester, not too far from there. But I will say this, that in all my times of listening to Howie, you know, I remember thinking someday they're going to finally catch Billy Bulger, and we're going to owe this man a debt of gratitude for being relentless and willing to go after him every step of the way. And Howie, we owe it to you. Thank you very much for what you did. And just make sure he gets a good trial. I know you will. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that change is on the way. Change is on the way to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue when we elect a new President of the United States, Mitt Romney. And change is on the way to 107 North Main Street in Concord when we put a Republican in the corner office, by the way. And folks, I'm running for governor because, in my opinion, it is time to replace the milquetoast leadership that has characterized the corner office for the last 8 years with a governor who is principled, who is decisive, and who's going to get something done for a change. We need a governor in this state who's going to get more done in 2 years than what John Lynch did in 8 years, which frankly shouldn't be all that difficult to do. But we can start by getting New Hampshire out of Obamacare, repealing Reggie, passing a voter ID law, and making New Hampshire a right-to-work state in the Northeast state. Now, as I just told you some moments ago, I have been traveling all across the state, talking to folks about my long-term vision for New Hampshire. And my specific plan called New Hampshire's Future is Now, to make New Hampshire the most economically competitive state in the country over the next decade. And it's a plan that lowers regulations and taxes on businesses large and small so that they can grow and create more jobs here in New Hampshire. It's a plan that invests in upfront technologies to make government more efficient and make it more accountable and transparent to the taxpayers by doing what I did when I ran a state agency, which was implementing a system of metrics and measurements across all state agencies so we know the efficacy of the programs that we're funding here in New Hampshire. And it's a plan to make health care more affordable and more effective in the way we deliver it by introducing competition into the marketplace by allowing businesses and consumers to purchase health insurance across state lines. There's no reason we shouldn't be doing that. And it's a plan to lower electricity rates because we pay some of the highest electricity rates in the state right now, in the country right now, by opening up the free market, allowing the public utilities to purchase electricity at the cheapest rates possible rather than subsidizing these alternative forms of energy. Let them all compete on the same playing field. And it's a plan to keep, yeah, that's worth clapping for. We need to lower our electric rates. And it's a plan to keep more of our young people here in the state by forming public-private partnerships with businesses and corporations, getting them teamed up with the universities, community colleges, VOTEC schools, to making sure we're putting more of our young people on career paths where the good, sustainable, high-paying jobs are in the future. And we believe all these things as Republicans because we know it is not state government that creates jobs, but it is state government that creates the environment and the atmosphere for good jobs to be created in the private sector. And folks, if we do that, there's no reason why businesses from south of the border shouldn't be flocking to the state of New Hampshire. You know, Howie, I've said oftentimes on the stump, I plan to be Governor Deval Patrick's worst nightmare by poaching jobs from the state of Massachusetts and bringing them to New Hampshire because our people shouldn't be paying income tax to the People's Republic of Massachusetts. Be done in just a minute here, Andrew. Look, I want to say this very quickly, okay? If I'm fortunate enough to be your nominee this fall, and I get to go toe-to-toe with one of the taxing twins, Maggie Hassan or Jackie Silly, I will take every opportunity I can, just as I did day in and day out when they were in the state Senate, to remind people of every tax-hiking, job-killing, business-busting, nanny-stating, Debbie Downer policy these two ever voted for. You like apples, Nashua? A tax on LLCs, a tax on campgrounds, a tax on rooms and meals, a tax on lottery winnings, car registrations, electricity rates. If it moved, they taxed it. How do you like them apples? The Democrats at that time, they even wanted to put a fee on anyone that put a helium balloon into the air. And folks, this would have cost me a lot of money because I got 3 small children who love parades and they don't hold on to balloons very well. Ladies and gentlemen, I am running to be your governor because I have the vision, the energy, and the experience to lead us into a new era of prosperity. And I will use my experience as a former state legislator, as someone who worked as an assistant for a U.S. senator and a former governor, as someone who ran a state agency and got good reforms on the inside, and someone who also got and fought for good conservative policy on the outside as well. I will not check my principles at the door. I'm running as a Republican. I will win as a Republican, and I will govern and serve on Republican principles and values. And together we are going to make New Hampshire the envy of the rest of the nation. My website is kevinsmithforgovernor.com. Go on there, sign up for my emails, make a $5,000 donation, whichever way you're feeling led. Thank you all. God bless you. Have a great evening.
Thank you, Kevin. Although I would remind everyone that before you make the $5,000 donation, you can go to NashuaGOP.org, and we have a nice link there that you can make a $5,000 donation to. Okay, our next speaker is candidate for 2nd Congressional District, Dennis Lamar.
Good evening, everyone. My My name is Dennis Lemaire, and I am a candidate for Congress in the 2nd District here. When I was in Keene last night, I met a group similar to this here, and it was a wonderful reception for somebody that will stand up and present themselves out there for candidacy, and that's what I'm doing. The reason I'm doing it is, as much as I like Charlie Bass, there are things that he voted for that I don't agree with. And I think that is my duty as a citizen to stand up and voice my way of thinking and how I can be a better congressman than Charlie Bass. Having said that, I'll give you a little bit of background here. I grew up in Newport, New Hampshire. I was born there, grew up there, went to school, and I've been a lifelong resident of New Hampshire. I never left the state other than to go to college, but I spent 2 years in college and I came back home because my brother came back from the Vietnam War and he had was diagnosed with schizophrenia. So we had a family decision to make, and I never finished my college education, but it made me the man that I am today. Going forward, my vision for America is that to bring it back into what the intent of Congress is for, a limited government, not to intrude in our lives, not to vote for bills that don't progress us toward financial stability, financial sanity. What I want to do to bring down the deficit is to eliminate some of the departments, such as the Department of Education, and bring the control back here on the state and local level. So that's something that can help out here to give us control here as a state. I want to get rid of the Department of Energy, migrate some of that to the Department of Defense. I want to bring our soldiers home. And by just bringing us out of Afghanistan and back home, we can save $1 trillion a year. So that's a way that we can reduce our deficit and our spending. It's not a taxing issue because I believe that we're taxed enough. We're actually taxed too much. I want to make sure that we keep our money here in New Hampshire and not send it to Congress and let them do what they want with it and maybe send it back to us. I want to make sure that we can have a job here in New Hampshire. America was built on productivity, jobs. Right after the Civil War, and even as our country began, 90% of people had their own business. They were self-sufficient, and 10% of people owned the businesses. And now it's switched around. 10% of people are self-sufficient, and 90% work for the businesses. We got to get back to our way that we had before, that bring jobs back to the country. And the way that we can do that is lower the amount of money that the Federal Reserve spends so that there's not as much inflation out there. The Federal Reserve said that the interest rate's not going to raise up for the next 2 years, but that's an artificial inflation because if you look at the gas prices in the last 2 years, they doubled. So to say that there's no inflation out there, then that's not true. But I want to just say to you that when I go down to Congress, and I will win, so when I do go down to Congress, I will make you this promise, that when a bill is presented before me, I will read it. I will make sure that I understand what's in there. And if I'm given 15 minutes to read the bill, I'm not going to vote on it. I will make sure that the Constitution allows me to vote on it. And then the third principle that I will look at is, can we afford it? And with $15 trillion in debt, there's no way that we can afford anything else that's out there. So that's just my pledge to you. The hook is coming for me, but I just thank you for the time to come before you and present myself to you. I'll be back on June 14th to expand a little bit more on what I want to do down in Congress, but I just want to thank you and introduce myself to you. Thank you.
It's a great pleasure to introduce the next speaker. You've probably, if you bought a ticket tonight, you probably already know him. A native of Portland, Maine, he has hosted a weekly radio talk show at WRKO, AM 680, since 1994. He's a columnist for the Boston Herald. In 2006, he became a book author with the publication of the New York Times bestseller, The Brothers Bulger, about Billy Bulger and James Whitey Bulger. We all know what happened to him. Howie's second best-selling book, titled Hitman, was released in April 2011. about Johnny Martin. I'm sorry, I'm going to butcher that name. Martirana. His recent book, titled Hard Knocks, delivers a hard-hitting tale of survival, betrayal, deceit, and murder. Not your typical soft read, but very powerful and very popular. Please join me in welcoming Howie Carr.
Thanks for the standing ovation. You'd be surprised, or maybe you wouldn't be surprised, how seldom I get one of those in either Massachusetts or in Maine. It's great to be here in New Hampshire. One of the things I like best about coming to New Hampshire, and it happened again tonight, is I get to meet a lot of state representatives, and I always get to have a conversation with New Hampshire state representatives that I never get to have with Massachusetts state representatives. I get to ask them, what do you do for a living? I have to correct Kevin Smith on a couple of things. Number one, Kevin, I am Deval Patrick's worst nightmare. The other one, a minor point, but we got Whitey Bulger, not Billy Bulger. Sometimes as a Massachusetts taxpayer, I wish we had gotten his brother Billy. It would have saved us a lot more money than catching Whitey. But it's great to be here. I'm looking here at these lights. Makes me think of the President of the United States. TOTUS. TOTUS is right here. Have you noticed though that TOTUS has betrayed him lately? Like when he was he was with the president or whatever of Argentina, and first our greatest ally, the country that stood with us throughout these long years of war, Great Britain. He refuses to call the Falkland Islands the Falkland Islands. The Argentinian name is Malvinas. But of course, our most brilliant president, the one, the Messiah, can't even get that right. He calls it the Maldives. TOTUS, you're fired. You know, I appreciate the fact that a lot of you here up in New Hampshire listen to my show. It's as you may know, in Massachusetts, I call it a political show. Up here in New Hampshire, I understand it's more of a comic show. Unless, of course, you happen to work in Massachusetts, in which case you're paying for a seat you don't even get to see the game from. You know, I don't blame if you guys want to strip Massachusetts bare. I mean, we have it coming to us. There's no question about it. We elect these people. I don't know if you heard the show yesterday, but we now have a woman running against Scott Brown for the Senate, and socialist. She's an Indian. You didn't hear this? We call her Granny Warren, but we're going to have to change her name to Pocahontas Warren. She claims, yeah, she provided the intellectual foundation for the Occupy movement. Which is funny because she's worth $15 million. She's part of the 1%. But she says she provided the intellectual foundation. We have a tax in Massachusetts. You may know this from listening to my show. We have fun with it. It's one of the few good things Speaker O'Brien's former law partner, Tom Finneran, who I call Felon Finneran, he is a felon. He put this through a few years back. There's so many liberals in Massachusetts. You think you got a lot of people reading the Concord Monitor up here? I mean, it's nothing compared to down there. They have box 22 on the income tax form, and so if you're really concerned about the children, if you're really concerned about the most vulnerable members of our society, the people who've fallen through the safety net of the Bush-Reagan years, you can check that off and pay higher taxes. That's what even the liberals laugh when they're afforded this opportunity. So of course, Pocahontas was asked, you want higher taxes on everybody. You think it's necessary for the middle class. Did you check off the box? I asked her that, and an hour or so later, I got back an email response from her campaign spokeswoman. Scott Brown voted for big oil. I said, I don't think that was the question I asked. So she finally admitted, no, she didn't make a charitable contribution. So now, though, it's come out that back in 1996, Harvard Law School, where she teaches, she's very concerned about the price of education, as all occupiers are, I mean, that's why she's decided to scrape by on a mere $310,000 a year and a no-interest loan from Harvard of $50,000. But they were having a problem because they had an all-white faculty. So all of a sudden, a Native American appeared on the horizon. Smoke signals in the west. A powwow was arranged. And all of a sudden, Elizabeth Warren is on the faculty at Harvard University claiming to be an Indian. Yesterday she said, I didn't even know they were claiming I was an Indian. So someone said, how did you find out? She said, I think I saw it on the front page of the Herald this morning. I don't know, what is it about New England? I was born here. I've lived all over the place. My father even worked in Whitefield for a while. Who knows where Whitefield is? Yeah, the Mountain View House, or now the Mountain View Grand. That's where he worked. I've lived all over the place, and I was born here. What is it? Why are we bringing in these women from the Midwest to be the U.S. senators? I think you know the first one I'm referring to, don't you? From the show me state of Missouri, Jeanne Shaheen. And now we have down in Massachusetts, Pocahontas Warren. But the Globe won't even call her on my show, every time we used to play Oklahoma every time I mentioned her name. Now we play the tomahawk chop. But the Globe won't even say she's from Oklahoma. They say she's plains bred. Is that like white bread? I don't know what that means. Plains bred. She was raised in poverty, that was the first story. Then it turned out she was raised on the jagged edge of the middle class. Then it turned out that in 1965, her family had 3 cars and she had an MG that she drove to high school every morning. But the Globe assured us it was beat up. Massachusetts and New Hampshire, though, of course, share many of the same problems. And by the way, I would like to say, since I'm in Nashua, someone has been letting me down lately. I used to get the police blotter from the Nashua Telegraph, and that would provide me with a lot of bugle material for my illegal alien drivers segment every evening. But I haven't. Someone hasn't been sending that along, and I'd like to make it a pitch right now to get that coming back to me. You can either fax it to me or just slip it into the snail mail. But we both have problems with illegal aliens, and we both have problems, as I know from my texting, my texters, that we both have a problem with the electronic benefits transfer card program, aka EBT cards. Is there anything, someone I was speaking to tonight said, yeah, both states have a problem. The difference is New Hampshire is trying to do something about it. We wouldn't want to do anything about it, though. It's, as Governor Deval Patrick always says, these are just anecdotes. You know, every day there's a new anecdote about EBT cards. And you know, a couple of weeks ago, I was talking to the guys from GROC over there, and they want to do more investigative reporting. And I told them the reality of investigative reporting is it's not so much sleuthing as snitching going on. And I got a great EBT story the other day. Snitching. The Boston cops just faxed it to me. They faxed me a police report about this guy who was a convicted heroin dealer who was arrested and charged with heroin possession with intent to distribute within 1,000 feet of a school, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And so they let him make his one phone call. And one of the officers overheard him saying, get my EBT card and get down to the ATM machine to get me some bail money so I can get out of here tonight. That was on a police report. A police report. And it's the same thing here. You know, this is what it's all about. You know, the guy I get my T-shirts from, Bob Berg in Coretta, Maine. He goes around. He's a salesman. You know, in addition, that's where how he sells his T-shirts. And he goes around to all these places of business, and he sees these places there. I'm sure it's the same in New Hampshire. They start out. They're supposed to be selling food, right? They're supposed to be selling food or something you can eat. And he goes into these places where there's no food. It's like the old days in the North End of Boston when you had these bookie joints, you know? And they claimed they put down Sal's Grocery. And you go in there and there'd be like 2 cans of tomato sauce. And they'd have this much dust on it. It's just a different scam going on now. They're not taking numbers anymore. They're giving out free money to these welfare recipients. And then you know, I talked to the state reps but Bob Berg was telling me that he was at a place at a supermarket, and they had cameras up in the you know, surveillance cameras. And this girl, a young girl, came in about 18 years old. She had a $60 ham. She wanted to return the $60 ham that she had bought the night before. I mean, you don't buy a $60 ham on it's not a whim purchase, right? So she brings it in, and she says, "I want to return this for money. I don't want it anymore." And the grocer says, "Did you buy this with cash or an EBT card?" And she said, "I bought it with cash." And he said, "Wait right here." And he went back to the back room and he played back the surveillance. And I guess I don't have to tell you the rest of the story. She was paying for it with an EBT card. This is what everybody is up against here. I mean, it's you know, we who pay taxes are almost outnumbered now. I always get a charge out of it when I hear somebody like Pocahontas or Deval or Barack Obama say that the people who pay taxes aren't paying their fair share. Let's see, there's 49% of the population pays 0% of the taxes, and 51% pays 100%. So tell me who's not paying their fair share. And I think it's only going to get worse. If this guy gets reelected, I don't even know where it's going to end. I mean, it's just horrible. To contemplate what he could do. I mean, I just think about you know, appointing 2 or 3 more Elena Kagans to the Supreme Court. I mean, you know, she's another one of these Harvard Law School people, right? Barack, Deval, Elena Kagan, now Pocahontas. She wants it. We elect her. What could possibly go wrong? And if he wins, I'm also concerned what's going to happen with the immigration. He's been telling people he just wants to basically open the borders. He doesn't quite say that he wants to open the borders, but that's the reality of the situation. Oh, that reminds me of another great thing. You know, why can't one of Obama's illegal alien relatives move to New Hampshire? So you guys can pay for him rather than us. Why do we get to celebrate all this diversity? I got a fax the other day. I don't know how the hell I got this fax. Auntie Zatuni, if you can believe this, has written an e-autobiography. I'm not making this up, an e-autobiography. And it's the story of, this is the word that really got me, it's the story of her triumph. She's on welfare. She's an illegal alien who got fake asylum, and now she's on Section 8, Mass Health, EBT cards. Thank God she's not on WIC. But see, this is a Republican crowd. Not everybody got the WIC joke. If I was in Massachusetts, that would have gone over big time. So, you know, one thing about being in Boston, though, I never have to worry about anything about what I'm going to talk about that afternoon. There was always something coming along, and I know that most of you listen to me on WRKO if you listen to me, and I'm just gonna make a pitch here tonight. I'm trying to get out. As you know, I've tried to get out before, but I've been someone's got a file into my cake at the radio station, and so I'm sawing the bars out, and I'm going to be ready to make another run for it. I'm going to try to go on the lamb to the FM side of the dial, and then where you'll be able to hear me. And I've got an associate with me here tonight, Justin. And afterwards, I'd like to get everybody's email address that I don't have, just so I can let you know, because someday I'm going to get out of there. You know, someday. I know Charlie Manson says that too. I think I got a better chance than him. And I want you to be able to. You'll be the first ones to know. You sign up for my email blast. You'll be the first ones to know when I get out of there. And I'll be at a station. I'll still be listenable in New Hampshire. Believe me. I love New Hampshire. I love being up here. And you know, I did sell my place. I must say that. I had a place in Lincoln. People know Lincoln, right? Yeah. Loon. Yeah. I'm the only non-skier in my family, but the other ones decided that they didn't care that much about it, so we got rid of the place. But I do love New Hampshire, and again, I've been up here my entire life. But please sign up with Justin there, and so you'll know where I'm going to be. And also I'm selling books tonight. Thank you, Congressman Bass, wherever you are, for reminding people. Just if you want to pick up a book, any of my books are available. I'll be signing I'll be signing them over there after everything is done here. If I got a few more minutes, I got a few more minutes. Does anyone have any questions here? I just wanted to, if anyone's got any questions about anything that I do or.
What are the numbers in the House now for Republicans?
In the House of U.S. House of Representatives?
In the state of Massachusetts.
Oh, in the state of Massachusetts.
In the 20s now?
I didn't come here to be made sport of. It's 33. It doubled. I mean, I can't tell you how. You know, the great thing about New Hampshire is in 2010 was you could see the tidal wave coming. Every couple of weeks, John Sununu would come say, I need to come on because we got a couple of special elections. And every week, or 2 weeks, they would knock off another couple of Democrats. And it was just great that you could see this landslide coming. And I've heard that over I think a quarter or a fifth of all the incumbent Democrats that were knocked off in the United States of America state legislators in 2010 were knocked off here in New Hampshire. I've been wondering wondering why it takes a little longer to get a cup of coffee at the McDonald's drive-through window. Senator, I'm sure you want see if this were Massachusetts, Senator, you and the majority, the deputy majority leader would be getting jobs for all these people. Yeah, I do know. I know. I appreciate you guys spending half of your salary, your yearly salary, to come see me tonight. I don't know, you know, we have another, again, I not only take part in a comedy radio show, but I work for a newspaper that is a comedy newspaper. If you live in New Hampshire, we have Governor Deval Patrick, my dear friend, has now, he doesn't want to do anything about EBT cards because those are just anecdotal stories. But he wants to hire some new school vending machine inspectors, AKA food cops. No kidding, he does. They want to increase the tax on vending machines from $3 a year to $27 a year to hire the food vending cops, vending machine cops. And you know, I mean, I don't have to tell you how many, you know, how many vending machine cops they're going to be able to hire. You know, probably $200,000 a year. This is the way it is. But you know, you guys are so lucky that you have a two-party state up here, or a 1.5-party state, the half being the Democrats at this point. And I hope. Yes, sir, Mr. O'Brien.
Thank you for remembering my name. I appreciate that. About a week and a half ago, I heard you talking about how the Massachusetts driver's license is not going to be allowed by Homeland Security as identification.
Yes.
What is the story behind that? Because they give them away, or?
Because they're not engaging in any kind of security. You know, it's really weird. I have two daughters that have just gotten their licenses in the last year, and they had to come up with all sorts of. I mean, they had to come up with the usual stuff, the driver's ed certificate, the birth certificate, all this stuff. You know, Uncle Omar. What's your name? Uncle Omar. Hey, that's good enough for us. That's all they do. That's all they do. You can't believe. Go to the Registry of Motor Vehicles website in Massachusetts, and you won't believe it. They might as well say, here's the set of rules for U.S. residents and legal aliens. Here's the set of rules for illegal aliens, and that would be a blank page. And so they're just going to. We're one of the 5 states that basically has no security, and they're going to. They're going to just like not. That's going to be a. I'm telling you, that'll be quite a surprise, won't it? When everybody flies to Florida for Christmas, and then they decide to come back on New Year's Day, and they get turned away out at the gates everywhere. Not just in Florida, everywhere in the world, in the United States, they'll be turned away unless something happens. They won't do it, and they won't do anything. Just like they won't do anything about secure communities. I'm sure New Hampshire's part of secure communities, right? I mean, this is a very, very controversial program. It enables the local cops to interact with the federal immigration agencies and law enforcement agencies to determine if a violent criminal is an illegal alien, so that the illegal alien can be deported from the United States. Oh, racial profiling, xenophobia, all that good stuff, you know? Yes.
Well, Howie, I want to ask a serious question. I mean, you brought it up, and it's you think about it, 51, 49%. I mean, we are a nation that is becoming an entitlement nation. And
Yeah.
it's about the mindset of America. How do we turn this around? I mean, I'm scared to death of this presidential election. I told people I was in New Zealand to put my I'm scared to death. I feel like we've got just a few years where
I don't know. I mean, all these, you read the stories in the Wall Street Journal about all these people that are going on to disabilities. SSDI has like doubled, I think, in 6 or 7 years. And it's amazing that people seem to develop these disabilities just when their 99 weeks of unemployment runs out. But in a way, I mean, it's appalling that they do it, and they're obviously ripping off the system. But what are they supposed to do? There aren't any jobs. I mean, the economy is cratered. I mean, the economy's got to be turned around. I mean, the first thing you have to do is just end the welfare state. Somehow you got to end the welfare state. I hear from people, in Massachusetts until 1967, it was, and I think it's the same in New Hampshire, or maybe you guys are trying to do it now. The cities and towns had responsibility for welfare. So in other words, any welfare that you were collecting came out of your neighbors' pockets or their property taxes. So everybody was very, very concerned. I got a call after one of the EBT columns I wrote from a guy in East Boston. He was of Italian descent. He said his father died in 1939, and they had to go on welfare. His mother was ashamed to go on welfare for 6 months, but they were starving. She finally went on welfare, city of Boston, and they had a woman called Miss Governor. Miss Governor would come there, and she would come into the house, and she would open up the linen drawers and count the number of linens that they had in there to make sure that they weren't using too much money. Now that's obviously going too far, but there's got to be something in between. They bought a radio. Back in those days, everybody bought radios on time, And so they put down 50 cents for a radio, and then they'd pay 50 cents a week. Well, now first of all, think of the big screen HD TVs that your average EBT recipient is now using. But every night they would listen to that radio, and then at the end of the evening when they went to bed, they would unplug the radio and take it downstairs to the person who worked, because if Miss Governor came in unannounced, she might throw them off welfare because they had too much money. I mean, again, that's draconian, but we didn't have these problems that we have now. I mean, it's just obviously just gone way too far the other way. I think that over half the women under 30, over half the children they give birth to they're unmarried. They're illegitimate. And why should they get married? I mean, I'm getting old now, but sometimes I hear people say, someone who's 25, and they say, I'm getting married. I never say it, but I think, why? I mean, why would you get? You're setting yourself up. And it's spread across every strata of society. I don't know the answer, Senator. I don't know what the answer is, but I know the answer is not 4 more years of this. Of having these people, these federal officials going around trying to recruit more people for the welfare rolls. By the way, I like to say, one reason I want to get out of RKO is it's not doing very well financially, if you've noticed from the public service announcements that seem to dominate my show, and I have the best rated show in the station. But I have to say, I don't want to take the rap. I am not the one who runs those Paul Hodes PSAs after all this time. I have nothing, they irritate me as much as they irritate you. And I think we've cut them back a lot in the last few months. Yes?
Any chance Romney might take Massachusetts?
I don't think so. I think the best we can hope for in Massachusetts is that he gets enough votes so that Scott Brown doesn't get swept out. We were talking about it at the table here in 1996, Dole, Mr. Dynamo, Mr. Erectile Dysfunction. He got a big 27% of the vote in Massachusetts. It took down Governor Weld against Kerry. Do you know how close we were to getting rid of Kerry? And the two Republican congressmen. So I think that's the best we can hope for, is for him to come close. I can't. By the way, I can't believe I saw a poll last week. Obama was ahead by 9 points in New Hampshire. Is that believable? Yeah. Yes.
Have you read President Obama's new Chinese cookbook, 101 Ways to Walk Your Dog?
I think I'll steal that on Monday. Okay. Yes? What's your joke? Better be better than that one.
Do you know what Homeland Defense is going to do with 500 million bullets?
I don't know. No. What do you think?
Store them up until they need them.
You know the hollow core bullets?
Yeah.
Do you know anything more about that? I heard about it.
They've ordered 5-year supply.
And Keynote in Baltimore.
What?
It was on January.
Oh. Yeah.
The Homeland Security is buying 450 million hollow core bullets. Why do we need them?
Maybe Mexico's running out.
It's not bad. Not as good as the first one.
But anyway, why would they be buying them at Keynote and not with the normal paper?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. I'm unfamiliar with that. I'm sorry. I should. Yes.
Howie, I just was wondering, is it true that one of your callers from Massachusetts got 2 different letters from John Kerry stating different opinions on his stance on the war?
Oh yeah. You didn't. Yeah. That happened back in the first Iraq War back in 1991, I guess it was. And what happened was this guy wrote a letter from Newton, and I don't know if he was for or against the war, but let's say he was against the war. So 3 days later, he gets a letter from John Kerry's office saying, I got your letter in the mail, and I couldn't agree with you more than we have no business being in that darn war. You know, I was in Vietnam. And then about 3 days later, the same guy gets another letter from John Kerry, and it says, Dear so-and-so, well, I got your letter, and I couldn't agree with you more that we belong in that war. It's just the best things we could do. You know, I was in Vietnam. That was the year Billy Bulger. I'd like to see him in jail, but he was pretty funny sometimes on St. Patrick's Day breakfast. He said John Kerry it was touch and go there for a while on the war. He couldn't decide which side he wanted to be on. And it was true. Well, we have a guy who voted for the $87 billion before he voted against the $87 billion. Now Pocahontas says, I was against TARP, but I would have voted for it. Oh, okay. I guess being of European descent, I don't understand that Native American wisdom of Pocahontas. Listen, thanks very much for having me here, Justin. Give your email address to Justin, and you'll be the first to know when I take it on the lamb out of WRKO. And they're selling books over here, and I'll be signing them right over there. Thanks a lot for having me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for everyone tuning in. It's been a great night with Howie Carr. See you all back again real soon. And tune in to the Nashua City Committee meeting and our show that we have on all the time. Take care. Good night.